For me, there were three big lines of thought or action. One, I was calling it tables. That was the necessity or the claim that architects don't have the political position in the decision-making process, a position that they were having before, or that's what we claim. And for me, that was interesting to analyze the ways in which architectures want to participate in conversations that, as an outcome, have the transformation of the city. At the same time, there were other proposals that were dealing with very urgent questions connected to climate change. And in a way, also how to mitigate climate change, how to think about the role of architecture and how it impacts also the environment, but also more poetically, I think, but also I find it interesting, the idea of the ruin, thinking about the future of architecture in a way that perhaps doesn't last forever, but it becomes a ruin that is inhabited and taken over by other species. To me, what is promising and interesting about that is that allows for thinking about architecture, an architecture that is not centered around the notion of man, but rather about multi-species. It's something in which man is the center to understand that the comfort of humans also depends on the comfort of many others on the planet. And architecture has, the necessity to address that. So that was very, very beautiful part of reading the proposals, thinking on those terms. And finally, I also identified a line that was called the lines, very, very, very long and straight lines that were thinking about forms of representation and very abstract thinking about how a line serves to separate territories, how to serve to separate interior and exterior, or forms of political engagement. And there were many proposals who were using that abstract representation but trying to challenge it in a way. So thinking how architecture participates in the creation of borders, and how actually architecture could participate as well and mitigate them and bring people together. So tables, lines, and ruins, that was like the three big groups in which I identify or put the proposals in. For me, what is celebrated is the variety of voices and interests that a discipline can handle. And in this case, many times we say, is this architecture? Is this architecture? This is architecture. And I think all this is architecture. And to be here today and yesterday, to be sharing different understandings of what architecture could be or is, and different ways of approaching it and thinking about its future is beautiful and has to be celebrated. The variety, no one has the right to claim that architecture is only this thing, it's only building, or it's only masters, or there is much more. And I think that's something that has been a struggle over the last decades, and now is simply a celebration of these different voices of ways of doing. I'm quite explicit about the relation between architecture and architects' real estate speculation. And in particular, I was saying that I was missing more proposals connected to housing, because it's such an important question in the cities. People cannot afford a house anymore. And housing, instead of being a right, a place that we all have to inhabit in the world, has become an object of investments and a form of capital repository and speculation. And we have responsibility on that too. And we should be ashamed of that. What I notice is that it's so important to give a platform for people to speak and to share their ideas and the questions that are relevant for them in their practice. And now, after 4 years of bringing together people to brainstorm, what will happen if this platform, this network, will serve to advocate for something? If we all together will decide on certain issues, certain topics that are extremely relevant for the profession and equally relevant for all the geographies where we come from, and we will use it as a political tool to advocate or try to raise our voices and make certain changes or claims that will reach to the other architects, but also not only the profession, but politicians and other institutions. I think that's the potential that this platform has. And I will be very excited to see that evolving in that way as well.